What's going on, everybody? If I am right, it should be recording, and I think that I am right. And I am also public. Good deal. Hope everybody's doing well today. I know I'm starting a little bit early, so I'll give it a second or two, and then we can get started. Haven't done one of these in a while, so I don't know if anyone's going to show up. But if they do, we can have a conversation. We can talk about whatever it is, whatever in the world you want to talk about. But before we get into it, I do actually have some things of my own I wanted to get into, as they say, which is an interesting phenomena um, that uh, is going on around um, YouTube, and intriguing because it's interesting. I actually just got pinged on YouTube about it as well. Uh, Someone who doesn't know what infinite means, I guess. Okay, so we don't need. Sorry. So, I am getting somewhat tired of humanity, I guess, as a whole. Just the way everybody acts. Now, to be fair, I kind of bring it on myself to a degree because I'm not the kindest guy in the world. Some might say I'm even somewhat divisive, as it were. And so, uh, it's not surprising when people respond sometimes in the way that they do. Uh, but on that note, I recently was going to town on the most recent. Thanks for becoming a member, English Gent. Always a pleasure, good sir. I was going to town on on the most recent Discovery episode. Didn't like it. I made a lot of people, like a lot of people, angry and even was attacked saying that I must hate people. It just reminded me how much uh, We Are Starfleet is basically fandom menace, just they believe something. Um, they just believe something a little bit differently. They just believe the opposite of what fandom menace believed, and it's really really tiring. Uh, an interesting piece on that too is that interesting piece on that too is that they're really also very very uh, they talk a big game behind a Twitter handle, but with two exceptions who I'm hoping to come on. Generally, they don't really put up. So yesterday, a couple days ago, I did a poll, and again, it was more just having some fun with people who follow me because a lot of people who follow me actually like Discovery. So I knew that I was going to annoy them to a degree. And they jive me back, and that's the way it goes. I said the poll was: you like Star Trek? Uh, no, you like Star Trek Discovery, or you're a true Trek fan. That went crazy. Well, I won't say that. It went semi-popular, not crazy popular. I've had stuff more popular than that. And people are still coming at me 4 days later. Uh, Another intriguing piece is a couple of the higher people, more prolific, shall we say. We Are Starfleet had some issues with it as well, though, like most people who have a higher count, generally they're not as what's the word I'm looking for? Vitriolic, I guess, which again just brought more haters and stuff like that. But they were less than pleased, shall we say? And so after that, there was a successful argument that made me delete the poll because it was causing more harm than I really intended it to and wanted it to. So I removed the poll, and I even removed like 3 months worth of stuff just because I was tired. I actually don't even have Twitter on my phone anymore, and I'm still getting attacked for it. Humanity is an intriguing thing. And what's funny is one of the people who are more well known in We Are Starfleet was like, take it down and that'll be it. You won't have any issues. And then they're tagged in one of the things I'm being in one of the tweets that I'm being attacked for. It's just interesting. Hey man, hey my man, good to catch one of your streams again. Sorry you've been hounded a lot on Twitter lately. Glad you stuck your gut as always. Well, I mean, I'm gonna keep who I am. I'm gonna keep who I am, but yeah, I'm not going to. I never really have any major intent on causing a massive amount of harm. I don't necessarily like that. It's not my goal in life. But I have my opinions. I never stick down for my opinions. My opinions are what they are. Apparently, Charles likes the F word a lot too. Apparently, that's one thing he does. The so-called humorous parts of Discovery Season 3, Episode 1 were awful. The Picard level of idiocy, cyberpunk was crap, boring and predictable. The end was fine, so I'm hoping to continue the line of Season 2. I didn't hate... Uh, I didn't necessarily hate the ending. It's just the premise is basically not generation Andromeda. That's just what it is. That's why I made my funny intro, just having a go at it, just because it's Andromeda. That's not bad necessarily. A lot of people get upset because uh, it's derivative, and I don't necessarily everything is derivative. It's just how well do you hide it. Every story has been told. Literally every story. I would be infinitely surprised if there is not a story that we haven't heard in some shape or form. It's just how well you couch it. And here's a hot take. Here's a hot take. I don't necessarily think it's bad that they are taking the Andromeda storyline and seeing how it would work in Star Trek. I don't necessarily think that's bad. I I would be interested, in fact, intrigued, one might say, to see where they go with it from that standpoint. I even think that perhaps, mayhaps, uh, Gene might like that. I don't think Gene would like everything they're doing in it. Gene is given so much. Roddenberry is given so much uh, praise. People really think, and I may be wrong, but everything I know about Roddenberry, I just don't think that he would be open to what Star Trek is now. I don't think he would be okay with diversity. I don't think he'd be okay with LGBT. I don't think he'd be okay with the things that are happening. Now, let me say this: if he wasn't okay with it, he'd be wrong. I think those things are good in Trek. I don't think that he would like those things. He was really good at taking credit for other people's ideas, but dude was a misogynist. And yeah, I know you guys have got to look it up because a lot of people are like, I don't understand that. You guys really have got to look it up. Um, what are my thoughts about the new Prodigy series? I don't know anything about it. I have no idea. I don't think we can really judge it until we watch it, or until we know more about it. We know Janeway's in it. Depending on what source you want to believe, she's either a villain or she's going to be leading them. DS9 sequel, I don't think is coming out. I think that's something gotten from 4chan. I don't. There's no way. Don't you mean Saint Jean of Roddenberry, saint of all incel fanboys? I guess that's what I mean. I don't know. I fell too much in love with the Omega molecule disaster idea. I was disappointed with what we got. Well, there's something happening in Hollywood. There's something that in Hollywood right now, it's considered bad if the fans figure out what you're doing, and they try to change everything because of it. I think that could have happened. I think people could have figured out the Omega molecule. Honestly, I am not convinced that this just isn't happening within the how many sectors, 600 sectors or whatever, 60 sectors. I'm wondering if the dilithium exploding just means for that area. I honest to God. Well, the Gorn could have burned subspace with the Omega molecule. It could have. That's true. I liked Andromeda's first two seasons. It only got bad when Sorbos wanted to turn his character into space Jesus. Yeah, and the writer left, but the writer actually came back and did how he would have ended it, which was excellent, by the way. Gornhub. That is. I actually go to Gornhub a lot. It's a really great website, though I don't think I can talk about it. Oh, wait a second. I was thinking of another website. Sorry, I don't go to Gornhub. It was different, similar but different. I am so glad that I can create these clips for Reddit. I mean, what would my life be if I didn't just make it easy for them? Uh, Gene Roddenberry was a messed up person. He was addicted to drugs. He was a misogynist, but he was also a humanist and an activist at his core. He's a great person with terrible flaws. I mean, he's human then. That's what you're saying. He's human. By our hey, our cats haven't seen you in a while. I'm sorry. I was actually going to get to your question. I apologize about that. Gene Roddenberry was human. He's just like Washington, George Washington, or Thomas Jefferson. Everybody's people. We all have issues. We all have flaws. We all have things. If the worst aspects of me and every person watching this were to come out, then we would be skewered because no one can stand up to scrutiny. That's just humanity. Our cats, do you think the new or disco era Trek writers are just effing with the OG fans now because we don't like this stuff? No, I don't. I don't think. Let me rephrase that. I think there are some things where they're taking pot shots, and I can't blame them. Um, I would take pot shots too. But overall, I think they're just writing what they think people would enjoy. I think they're writing to their demographic. And I think it's working. I think I saw him here. Was he up here? Did he say hi? Maybe not. Me and Mark Spink, I think is his name, got into it over this. I think they're making money hand over fist. I really do. None of this makes sense if they're not. It doesn't at any point pass any kind of muster if they're doing this and they're losing money and they're floundering. CBS at the end of the day is a business. It is a business. Okay, no matter what they say, they have stockholders and they have CEOs and they have people they're accountable to. They will make money. And so I don't think that they'd be pushing all this just to own the conservatives. I don't think they'd be pushing all this just because they want to see the proliferation of any kind of agenda or bias. But since SC is here and he thinks I run from him all the time, I guess I'm going to have to get off. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Not really. I don't have my outro, or I would have brought the outro, because SC thinks I run from him. What do I think about the Lower Decks series finale? I really like the Lower Decks series finale. Here's my problem with the series finale of Lower Decks. If you want the truth, is that I liked it so much, I almost don't want a season 2 because I think they ended the characters excellently. I think the characters ended the way that they were supposed to end. I think it was a culmination of all of their arcs, that if they go into season 2, they might take it away. And I don't want that. We're never getting classic Trek. Oh, you weren't. By the way, there's German Trekkie. For those who don't know, I'm doing a collaboration with German Trekkie. He actually does a lot of computer generated. Oh, what the hell is it? CGI. I forget what I stands for. Imagery. Computer generated imagery. He's really good at it. I actually have been inspired by him to start working at it. No big deal if OJ Trek comes back. I don't think OG Trek's gonna come back. First off, I don't think that I think that while on YouTube, while watching Nerdrotic, while watching Midnight's Edge, it feels like there's enough of the original audience to bring back a TNG or bring back a DS9. I don't think audiences will watch it. I don't think it's interesting to audiences. Maybe if you brought Deep Space Nine back and you did the Dominion War, or you focused on the Dominion War, maybe. But I'm not convinced that it would stay that way. And that's just me being honest with you guys. That's Anyone else think that the reason disco is so bad is so many people hate watch that the producers think, well, if they're watching it this way, they must. I was talking about that before, Vile. I don't think so. I think they're writing to their demographic. I do think they take pot shots, but hey, I would too. That's exactly. If I was writing Trek and there was this cult or this movement that hated Trek, everything I did they absolutely hated. You better believe that I would. You better believe that I would put some things in there specifically to piss them off. Now I'm gonna hide that, Charles. I'm gonna hide it, sir. Is making CGI STO fan game. I don't know what that's talking about. The computer generated imagery is actually from Blender. Nothing's got from Star Trek Online. Is you're welcome to see it as I'm working on it. Well, as I'm learning it, SC, if that's what you're referring to. Well, swearing I don't mind as much, German Trekkie, but specifically doing channels that way, I generally just shy away from because I'm a coward. I think people who want the original, fully optimistic style of Trek might get what they want with Strange New World. I just don't. I don't trust them. I don't trust uh, anything to do with what we're seeing. People are like, oh, Strange New Worlds, but people were doing that with Picard, right? People were like, oh, Picard's going to be good. I hope Picard's going to be good. They're going to bring it back. It's going to be what it is. But it's not. I don't think we're going to get a return to what we had before, and I don't think I wouldn't do that either. I'm going to be honest with you. Again, this is all based on what I am seeing. This is all based on what I am seeing, and I don't see behind the internals, right? I don't see the internals. But I would tell you that if right now I'm right and I was in control of CBS, if I was Kurtzman, if they gave it to me, and I saw how much money this was making and how popular it was making, why wouldn't I just continue doing? The objective of the Star Trek franchise is to make money from CBS's standpoint. There's no reason to do anything different. This is exactly what happened to DC Comics with Flashpoint. Huge numbers of people hated the new reset, but eventually they got the old timeline back. Here's an interesting thing with that. Arcats, I don't think it's 1-to-1 because I don't think Trek is that way. I really don't. But here's an interesting thing with it. You know what got me into the DC universe? What they were doing, the alternate timeline or whatever, is Flashpoint. Like the last one, what was it? It wasn't Apocalypse, was it? The whatever war where they just get annihilated. That actually got me interested in it, and I went back and started watching movies from that specific uh, line of movies and stuff. It's ironic. Should CBS, by the way, guys, thanks so much for supporting the channel. The only way I can keep these lights on is if you guys support, and those numbers right next to me, this side, actually aren't made up. They are what I need to keep the lights on. Lore Reloaded, should CBS make the lore of Star Trek Online canon or take what works with the game and make it fit there with canon? Take what works, right? Take just take what they have. Take what is effective and then use it. That's what they're doing right now. Talk to you later, Calix. Thanks for coming by. By the way, guys, don't forget to refresh your screen. You may be getting a little bit behind. I've come to accept that Disco Era Trek clearly isn't a failure because Corps wouldn't put this much money into a failed show. Corps have to cancel shows so far for less. Exactly. See, that's the thing. And I was getting into it with, I forget his name. I was getting into it with him and his friends. They were triggered me so much. Corporations aren't agenda driven. Not generally. They're just not. It's not the way it works unless that is exactly what the people want. They will do the agenda if it's making them money. CBS has got to be making an S ton of money. I'm about to blow y'all's minds. Fox News, Fox News is conservative because conservatives are paying them a ton of money one way or the other. CNN is more liberally based because their fan base is paying them money one way or the other. It is what they do. Dollars to donuts. Maybe not instantly, but dollars to donuts. If all of the people who watched Fox News suddenly became raging communists, Fox News would move towards communism. They just would. It's the way corporations work. And it's so frustrating. I'm even getting passionate about right here. I'm even getting passionate about it right here. By the way, Samantha, you beautiful human being, thank you so much. Um, I'm even getting worked up about it right here. It's just the way it works, people. There's no way. Um, and so I don't know. I do watch some of the shows. Titans is okay, except season two. Doom Patrol is great. Is the season two finale really bad? Was there a Titans season three, or did it end on a bad note? That'll make me not watch it. What's going on, Mountains of Elysium? Why does Discovery season three seem like Star Wars? Because Star Wars-esque plots sell, so why not jump on that bandwagon? Yeah, I would agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that. I think that I think the way that what audiences want is they want the expanse. They want Star Wars. I don't think they want TNG. I don't even think they want DS9. Pontus Farmer helping out. We give Lore super chats because we like what he has to say. Business to make money, but he is sincere. Yeah, I mean, and that's so. When it comes to even the way I work, when it comes to this, I want to create conversations. If I create, and this is the way my business model works. If I create conversations on the channel, then things will take care of themselves. It pushes every other metric. So I talk about things people want to talk about. If all of a sudden you guys didn't want to talk about Trek, but you wanted to talk about Expanse, guess which way I'm going. But the thing is, I will say that I talk about what I want to talk about, and I do talk about things I enjoy. I can't like fake it. If you guys stopped talking or wanting to have conversations about the things I enjoyed, I'd probably look into another avenue of doing something. But what you guys interact with me on is kind of what I go on. And if I have something to say, I'm going to say it. Now, that said, sometimes I do stuff that costs me money. Like anytime I do Star Wars or Doctor Who or things like that, or if I do an anime thing, I'm losing money. Absolutely. But that's something, excuse me, I'm sorry. That's something that I knowingly do. Chris M. helping out the channel. Thank you so much. He says, Lower Deck seemed designed to appeal to pre-disco fans. CBS here to make money. If Lower Decks does that, might influence Trek numbers on the different Trek shows and what returns CBS makes. Well, and see, here's an interesting thing, Chris. Thank you so much for the support, by the way. Here's the interesting thing. I do believe, I sincerely believe that CBS, Kurtzman, everyone behind the camera, not necessarily in front of it, everyone behind the camera kind of learned their lesson from season one, Discovery. Season two, Discovery, was a lot more backed off and trying to sell. Wow, there's my Southern coming out. Trying to sell um, their form of agenda a lot more subtle. Season three appears to be going that way. Picard season one and season two are going that way, and or season one went that way. Hopefully, season two will. And Lower Decks seems to drastically step back and just enjoy it for what it is. Everything, a lot of the hate comes from and still sparks from Discovery season one, which was like what 5 years ago. That's one thing I think you can say. I think that they did see and did react to the reaction, did react to the reaction. Wow, did react to what people were saying. I don't think they're going to move back to OG. I don't think it's going to be modern. I do think it's still going to be very, very in your face, but it's not as vitriolic as it was. Over 100 people watching, less than 30 likes and dislikes. Well, don't be scared of that. Hit that like button. Come on. 131 people watching. Yeah, people. You know, the interesting thing is if you like what I do or you hate what I do, you should definitely hit that because it has more people watch, and more people watch, the more I can be hated. See, ah. Discovery and Picard are an insult to Roddenberry. Yeah, so here's where you can get mad at me, Mike. And if you get mad at me for saying this, I'll refund it to you. I'll send it back via PayPal. Here's the thing. Uh, Wrath of Khan, Undiscovered Country, Best of Both Worlds, the entirety of the Dominion War, In the Pale Moonlight, the concept of Voyager, are all insults to Roddenberry. Depending. Roddenberry, you want to know what Roddenberry was? Season 1, Season 2, TNG. That's Roddenberry. Roddenberry, and I have talked about this beforehand, Roddenberry had a wonderful world. He thought up a wonderful world. He is really bad at writing stories in it. Uh, and again, that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but it is the honest to God truth. Um, and I mean, SC, as much as me and SC get into a fight, it's interesting because he's right. Most things that are enjoyed by fans are things that Roddenberry was against. Roddenberry hated Undiscovered Country. Uh, he was very, very idealistic. Someone kept saying he's idealistic. I would say, and we brought that up a couple of times. Roddenberry was a flawed individual, but we all are, right? We all, no one would survive scrutiny. I don't know. Honest to God truth, dude. For 20 plus years, I I was a Christian, so I'm going to use that for the rest of my days. I use all kinds of things that reference God because that's what I grew up with. So, honest to God, promise to God, God's green earth in the year of our Lord AD. I say stuff like that all the time. It's just what it is because it's what I grew up with. Uh, how about a multiverse, OG and New Trek? I tell you what I would do if it wasn't for this channel, if it wasn't for Mike Jar Jar Abrams, you say. If it wasn't for this channel, that would be me. That would be my mind. That would be my what do we call it? Canon for me would be broken up. That this is just a different universe. The only reason that it's not, the only reason that I defend it is because the channel was wholly based on canon, and what is canon according to Star Trek is what people say it is. What the IP holder. Now, interestingly, that's not always true. Like Andromeda, the fans choose what it is. It's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. But for Trek, IP is based on headcanon. That's what it's. IP is based on whoever holds it, and that never really was an issue until JJ Trek, until Kurtzman. Why don't they do it like Gundam, where there's the original series timeline and then the alternate universes? I've wondered that too. I don't know why the insistence to keep it canon, but there is an insistence to keep it canon. I'm not sure why that's a requirement. Originally, I think they may have done it to bring the old. Originally, I think they did it to bring the old guard there, to bring people who liked DS9, who liked Enterprise, because they weren't sure what it was going to be. They weren't sure how they were going to do. And because of that, they wanted to hedge their bets. But at this point, I'm not sure why. I don't know. I got a dude complaining at me for not caring for Disco when I had to model the Enterprise from Discovery. When I even said it's not from Disco, then he had a fit and was arguing with me and then nuked. He went on. How are you still alive? You survived a nuclear explosion. People are pretty passionate about this. I was talking about this before. I did a poll last week, and it got so much vitriol and so much hate. It's really intriguing. It reminded me that We Are Starfleet is about on par with Fandom Menace when it comes to responses. Good work builders, good world builders don't always equate to good storytellers. I'd agree with that. I think so. Yeah. Everyone complains about the same level of tech. Dudes, the galaxy got blown back to the Stone Age. They're still on the rebound. Well, we don't know that it got blown back to the Stone Age. They just lost the ability to use warp drive. So the advanced technology they had would still be there, on at least on the planets, the ones not using dilithium. Most bases didn't use dilithium either. So like Space Dog, Starbase, they generally used deuterium. Not just deuterium, but they also used something not dilithium. So those would still exist too. So the technology would have probably still been there, I think. Max, the second, healthy conversations like this is why I support this channel. Keep it going. I got a video coming out that's going to be similar to this, and probably later today. And I agree. This is what I enjoy doing. I like conversations where everyone gets a call, but man, it would be so much easier just to pick a side. It really would. It would be so much easier just to pick. I don't know that I could do it because I don't like being fake, but it would be easier just to say which one is going to make me the most amount of money and pushes the message that I want to push overall, and then just boom, become the hub for that thing. Uh, I think the insistence to keep it canon isn't about accuracy, it's about legitimacy. Alternate universe Star Trek would be considered lesser in the eyes of the rights holders. I don't understand that, though, the big exclusive. I mean, it may be that, but I don't understand that because look at Battlestar Galactica. Battlestar Galactica did a remaking or whatever, a new vision, and I think it's as legitimate, if not more, than the original. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't understand that mentality. Andromeda had some potential, but never got a proper script. I think it did all right until season 3. I have to agree. I don't mean the literal Stone Age, but with the sudden lack of warp travel and interplanetary trade would have gone up, that would have screwed everybody. The interesting thing is, and they can travel now, but originally, if people couldn't use dilithium, if all trade stopped, can you imagine some planets? Some planets would be destroyed. Planets that have people coming from all different parts of the galaxy, like Risa. Imagine all the different species on Risa, all having different requirements for what they eat. Imagine a species that totally relied on other trade from other planets. Just the death. Wait, Allure Reloaded say it isn't so. There is hate and vitriol between those who love and those who hate Discovery. It's not just that. There's vitriol between anyone who does not believe what you believe. But I mean, that's just human nature. You know, that's just the way all of this goes. Okay, folks, I got to get back to work. Have a good whatever day. Talk to you later, Mike. And I'm not good with thumb typing. It's more fat fingers than delinquent English. I'm the same way. When I type, I always misspell stuff, and I can't tell if it's because I'm dyslexic or have some dyslexia in me, or if I'm just typing too fast or whatnot. I noticed it when one of my kids, I was going to say became dyslexic, when they found out she was dyslexic. You don't become dyslexic. Money is back in the Star Trek future. It is. We know that Lower Decks doesn't have money, but sometime into Picard they do. Like I say, I mainly focus on the war conflict and Trek. My content, and most people enjoy it, but I still catch flack for some Roddenberry purists. Yeah, give it time, man. You'll get it from all. By the way, Venom Geek Media 98 is a really good channel. He has some really top tier stuff. Weirdest name on the world, but SC's heading out. Talk to you later, SC. I'll be sure to stop the live stream next time you come in. Comic Sans can help people with dyslexia when reading? Huh. I didn't know that. I'll try that. If time travel technology is banned, then who is there to enforce the ban? The Federation is gone. Slave trade is banned, and it still happens all over the world. So I mean, I don't know. Have no idea. Hope the burn is fleshed out well. All the dilithium exploding one day just sounds like clumsy rain. Sounds like eco-terrorism is what it sounds like. We know nothing about the Romulans of the 3000. We don't. We don't. The Romulans could be extinct. They could be the dominant. They could have been the ones to destroy all the dilithium, because apparently they're so powerful that they can destroy Mars, which is an act of war. But we don't know. Maybe they're all behind it. That's it. It's a conspiracy. A great big conspiracy. But who knows? By the way, guys, if you're watching this, 135 people watching, only 51 likes. Hit that like button or hit the dislike button, because I don't care. I don't care. You know what? You're scared to, and I understand. It's pretty intimidating when talking to me or being in my presence. If you're scared to hit the like button or hit the downvote button, I've won, and that's okay. We'll just both know that as long as you haven't hit it, I win, and that's okay. I'm okay beating you. How can it be clumsy writing if it hasn't even really detailed yet in show? It can still be clumsy. It can be contrived. It can be cliche. It can be uh, wasteful. It can be clumsy. Now, if they flesh it out and they explain it, then it's not. It just depends on what they do with it. But I guess to that point, uh, it may be premature to call it clumsy. I just got here. Need to hear your thoughts first, guy. What Chicky Sticky? I love that name. That is one of the most awesome names ever. What specifically thoughts would you like to hear, my friend? I'm seeing 64 likes, and my thumb has been blue since I got here. Oh, agency, I'm sorry. Someone gave you a thumbs down, Laura, when you spoke about it. Well, they should. You should. I don't know that I'd want to have a video uploaded without a thumbs down. Oh, Tobias, I have I'm pretty sure I know who it is. I'm pretty sure, but with as many, I guess I can't. I guess I can't say that anymore. Um, I get a thumbs down within minutes. Like I'll upload a 20-minute video, a 20-minute breakdown of a ship, and I'll have a thumb down within minutes. It's just that's the nature of the beast, my good man. That's the nature of the beast. Nah, I don't even think I'd come up on Steve Shive's radar. I don't think Steve cares about me that much. Do more live chats, Laura. I want to. I try to get videos out and got so much going on, and I'm trying to flirt with women and find the one, and things just they get rough, buddy. They get rough. I don't always agree with all your opinions, and I haven't really heard your overall opinion of Discovery as a whole. That said, when I don't agree with you, you still make your points. I don't necessarily like Discovery overall. I have to, and the thing is, I don't like Discovery to the point that when I do reviews of them, I actually point that out first, because it's a bias that is really, really hard for me to overcome. I think I can be fair. I feel like I can be objective, but it's there and it's always in the background. I feel like Discovery season 1 is the most toxic season, both behind the camera and in front of the camera, that's existed. I sincerely do. I feel like it was toxic to all hell and back. Season 2 wasn't as toxic, though it had its moments. Uh, and then Picard, Lower Decks, and even Discovery really haven't been all that bad. But season 1 of Discovery was the most divisive and the most, oh, this is going to be in continuity. And then they just broke it just to do it. Story wise, I really wasn't all that impressed. Honestly, I think Trek should be ensemble. I think the focus on Michael and to write it that way makes her character less liked by a lot of people. And also can somewhat be breaking of how Trek works. It gets her as close to a Mary Sue as it is, if not a Mary Sue. I think she's written badly. And the most frustrating thing, let me say the most frustrating thing. They had a lot of potential. There were some wonderful plot lines that they could have went through that I think that they just didn't come down on, that they didn't follow through with. Lucky Circles give an example of what was toxic. I'm going to take that at face value. So I'm going to take you as being legitimate, but based on your responses to me, I may, I will determine if you're actually here and you actually are willing to listen to it. Because I feel like it's generally known now, and people who push me on this uh, are not arguing in good faith. But for the sake of the live stream, I'm going to assume for the moment that you're in good faith. One of the first things, one of the main things they did before the show even starts was to say that Klingons were Trump supporters. That Klingons uh, were, it's interesting based on which interview you want to look at, because I think the first interview it's like, yeah, Trump supporters, worst of the worst. Then they got some feed, they got some backlash on that, and so they come back. It's diverse. It's Trump supporters, but it's diverse. We're all different people. So they really backed off of that, and so there was that piece. What happened to death of the author? Now I'm wondering if you're arguing in good faith, but I'll continue on for the sake of it. What do you think I meant? Let me ask you this question. What do you think I meant when I said Star Trek Discovery was one of the most toxic and divisive seasons, was the most toxic and divisive seasons for fans, both in front of and behind the camera. Now, for those who don't know, I generally look at death of the author when it comes to a work. So when you see a story, I don't care what the author said. The story stands for its own. That's what death of the author is. So when it comes to Harry Potter, I don't care what the hell's her name? I don't care. The author of Harry Potter says. I look at Harry Potter, and the characters and the chips lay where they may. Now, that's when I'm breaking down a story or when I'm enjoying it. But if I was to say something, both in front of and behind the camera, does Death of the Author fall for that? Do you think that I am solely basing it on Death of the Author? FireTell helping out the channel. To me, Disco is a parody, one that is so bad it's entertaining. I see it as the same as The Room. I don't think it's as bad as The Room, but I mean, if you get that. But again, to address that, Death of the Author, I think, just looking at Death of the Author, completely breaks in a lot of ways the continuity for Trek. It makes Starfleet to be out the ultimate villain. Starfleet does things that break the Geneva Convention. The United States has been attacked and brought on charges for things that we see Starfleet do in episode 2. So if you're looking at Death of the Author, I think it's toxic because it takes Starfleet to levels I won't. I can't get upset. I say that, I can't because I'm in an office now. I say that Starfleet started the Dominion War. I say that Starfleet is the reason why people got hurt or people died. And I'm saying, the person that is known for hating Starfleet across the land, I'm saying that they went too far in episode 2 to address Death of the Author. No, but I asked what was toxic and you've given no example in front of the camera. But you keep using me of bad faith. Yeah, I do, because the arguments and the way you're doing it. Now, to be fair, I was explaining it when you did it, and there's a delay, so I'm not going to hold that one against you. But I think that, and again, even the way I said it, I don't have to go Death of the Author, because I was talking about the fans, and the fans are not in the story. That said, I understand where you're coming from. But a lot of people who argue or ask the questions you do have argued in bad faith. I'm not saying you, but that's why I was bringing it up. By the way, Totemic Toad. I love that name. Not as much as Sticky Chicky. I like Sticky Chicky, but I like Totemic Toad. Thanks for becoming a part of the channel. I did say in front and behind, and I addressed both of those. Yep, it can be toxic in front of the camera as well, good friend. I don't understand. Okay, so lucky circle aside, everybody else, does it make sense when I say that it's the most toxic season in front and behind the scenes uh, for fans? Do I have to have like death of the author? The story itself is toxic to the fans. Just because when I do my breakdowns, I am death of the author doesn't mean I have to constantly. And again, I gave an example of how it was. I even gave an example of how it was toxic removing the fans. You had you had sexual assault by a female on a male for most of the season. How the hell is that not toxic? Lucky Circle, I've given you two, and I'm not going to do any more. If you missed it, then maybe I'm just not good at giving my point. uh, just FYI, everyone, on the delay between a comment and when you see a response, the video is a lot longer than you might think. Yeah, refresh. I would suggest refreshing. Got to run, but great content as always. Thank you for doing streams earlier. Great for UK and EU. Well, I'm here for you, Chris. Yeah, you got to refresh. Refresh every couple of minutes. I hate that about YouTube. To, the problem is not death of the author. Today, the toxicity is everywhere. Today has become death to the author. Okay, thanks. I mean, okay, let me ask you this, Lucky. Let me ask you this. I gave you two examples. I gave Starfleet committing a war crime, uh, putting a bomb inside of dead people, and then I discussed the sexual assault, the ongoing sexual assault shown through vivid flashbacks. They also had a dead baby, but I think that was season two. I think that was season two, so we'll ignore that. Those two I would consider toxic. I would consider them divisive and unnecessary uh, when in front of the camera. There was a lower deck episode where one of the female crew started sexually harassing her crewmate. I would agree that that's wrong, but can you tell me how that's on par with actual sexual assault being portrayed? Hey, everyone, only watch Discovery because a guy at work likes it. Worse than the second season. What, season three or season two? Ah, so in front means yeah. I'm sorry. So when I say both in front and behind the camera, when I mean behind the camera, I'm talking about executives. I'm talking about even actors. In front of the camera, I mean what we see on the screen. Now there is a death of the author aspect in front of the camera, but that's more for breakdowns. Where do you differ from Jesse Gender and Ketwalski on Star Trek Discovery? They like it and I don't. I guess. Um, they agree with a lot of my criticisms. It's just not as impactful to them as it is to me. I think. Also Jessie, where she comes from and her background, makes her more sympathetic or open to the ideas. I think, which I don't even think that's wrong. I think where we come from informs how we look at something. Who are members of We Are Starfleet? I mean, there are a lot of them are on Twitter. Batleth Babe, Dave, Trek Geeks, people like that. The transformation of Volk to Ash was bad. They should have used the augment virus to stay canon to Enterprise. The yeah, I don't know. The that and that's a part of I think the toxicity is that they just didn't care um, about continuity. Not really. They say they do, but I don't believe that. Death to the author. That guy wrote things I don't like. Yeah, that's how our culture is these days, isn't it? So Lucky, I'm not sure if you're continuing to watch, but if you are, those two examples, I'm sincerely curious if you find that interesting or if you didn't find it interesting. If you didn't find it, if you found it lacking. Did anyone else think it was strange that a guy sat in a room for 40 years waiting for someone to hang a flag? Uh, I don't know. I think that is I don't know. It doesn't impact me one way or the other, to be honest. Star Trek TNG, Q gives Worf a couple of women to play with. DS9, Jadzia Worf's first time, Quark and Mrs. Quark first time. Worf was a Klingon. It was an assault. It was going. I'm sorry, AGS. You're right. AGS is absolutely right. They only implied sexual assault for the episode, and then we found out it was consensual. But for most of the season, it was implied sexual assault. So when you think about a man being tied down and a woman forcing him to have sex with her, in AGS 1031's opinion, that is the same thing as Q giving Worf a couple of women to play with. So when Q tried to give women to Worf, who didn't do anything with them or anything, that's the exact same thing as Discovery Season 1 implying sexual assault. It is the exact same thing. According to AJS 1031, Jadzia and Worf's first time. I don't know what that means, unfortunately, but I guess somehow their first time is the equivalent of a woman sexually assaulting a man, or at least it being inferred, which is what I've said the entire time for an entire season. Quark and Mrs. Quark's first time. I'm assuming you're talking about the Klingons. So two people having consensual sex is the exact same thing as sexual assault, non-consensual sex of a woman onto a man. Exact same thing. Uh, yeah. So it's okay. And at the end of the day, even though it was implied there, for what 9, 12 episodes, even though it was implied, and we saw vivid, increased, visceral footage of a man being mentally broke down and hurt and attacked and feeling like lesser, having to relive it as a victim. At the end of the day, it was consensual, so his victimness doesn't matter. I don't know if it was based on his gender or not, but I kind of think that's probably where it's coming from. But I don't know. Thanks, AJS 1031. You have completely changed my mind. I like Ketwalski. Is someone talking bad about Ketwalski? So Gold Ducat and the Bajoran women was not toxic. You know, it's interesting how you keep asking me questions like these circles, but you won't address me on when I ask you questions. That's intriguing. Uh, First off, and I'm just going to do the same thing to you guys. I have been completely changed. See, Gul Dukat, it was inferred that he sexually assaulted women, which isn't good at all anyway. Even on its basis, it's not a good thing. It was inferred, and he looked at some women lecherously. And that is the exact same thing as in season 1 when we had 10 to 12 episodes of actually watching the man get assaulted, watching the victim have to relive it through PTSD, seeing actual bare breasts. Exact same thing as one scene where Gul Dukat looks lecherously at people. It's the same thing. Why don't you guys understand this? Thank you, Lucky Circles. Thank you. Talk to you later, Hots Farmer. Thanks for coming by. I gave you two examples of um, how I thought it was toxic, like in universe, death of the author. I can repeat them if you need me to. Talk to you later, Charles. The only thing bad about Ketwalski is he stopped playing Lore Reloaded Star Trek Adventures. I wish he would have played. Well, the problem he meant is that he clearly had more with those Bajoran women than just looking at them. That's fine, FireTell, but again, why do I got to keep responding to this? FireTell. All right, so are you telling me that inferring that he clearly did more and that he clearly sexually assaulted them on screen and he's just looking lecherously at them, the inference of that is the exact same thing as 10 to 12 episodes where we actually see the assault victim get assaulted in multiple different episodes and he's going through this traumatic place, he's going through PTSD, he can't deal with the fact that he has been attacked, at least as far as he knows, and we're actually seeing it. We're seeing naked body forms, and until the last episode, we're assuming this is actual assault and actual rape is occurring on screen. Are you saying that is the same thing? So him being lecherous, saying it was done, is actual rape being portrayed on screen? Is that what you're saying? I just need to confirm. Oh, cool. Yeah, Lucky Circles. Can you tell me where, when Starfleet, when the captain and Michael put a bomb inside of a dead body, uh, a dead Klingon body that was portrayed as bad? Can you tell me about that? Can you show me in the script or in the show? where that was portrayed as bad. By the way, to clarify, I'm not saying that it's a good character or the character did something good. I'm saying what they showed us on screen. One is more horrific than the other. Both are bad. And here's my thing. I think it would be horrific, and I would be so against DS9 if DS9 did exactly what Discovery did. You know, Lucky Circles. It was in episode 2. So I don't know if you remember, but in episode 2, the way they destroyed the Klingon ship, um, they put a bomb in the body, and then they know that the Klingons collect their dead, and the Klingons got the body, and everyone's smiling, and it seems like a very upbeat point. I guess it's just the portrayal, you know, and maybe again, AGS. I hope you're still here. Maybe it's just here's the thing. It could be my tolerance. So it could be the way for me, it could be how I take it. If I'm being fair, maybe I can have it inferred the way we see in DS9, but I can't see it happen because in canon, effectively the same action happens, right? In the story, the same action happens, and so maybe for me, it just goes too far when it actually displays that action. So, if I'm being fair, I would say that may be a good counter. If something's wrong, it's wrong. There's no scale to it. Yeah, but the difference is what's being showed on screen. What you say, that's my point. I'm not talking about it being wrong in canon or the actual act being wrong. I'm showing, I'm saying what they showed us. You understood Ducat's nature pretty easy on. In fact, in past examples, already seen to the viewer in some episodes, you do feel remorse. I really hope Cisco comes back from the wormhole aliens and takes over as captain. I doubt that's going to happen. No, Saru needs to be captain. Saru earned his captainship, you know? So yeah, I think that's the fair counter, quote unquote, the fair counter to it is that I just don't like seeing it. Inferring is better for me. For me, the reason it's dumb, it's not needed visually, but since GOT showed it, every show had to go full raw visual. Um, you know who I like that most people don't understand? I like Tilly. I think Tilly's a wonderful character. I just can't not like her. I think she's adorable. Didn't Cisco make a planet uninhabitable for the Maquis? Yeah, he should. He's a war criminal for all intents and purposes. Yeah, he is an absolute war criminal. Of that, I agree. It's the difference between assuming there's collateral damage when a superhero saves the day versus seeing the buildings fall and man, it's still, yeah. Again, I don't know. I just don't. It wasn't necessary. I think it was really divisive, and I guess a part of the inner frustration too is I sincerely feel like um, if they reversed the roles, if it was a female that was going through PTSD of being raped, they would have a huge issue with that. I really do, and that's frustrating. The Maquis are terrorists by Starfleet's definition. Okay, well, I didn't know Starfleet went by the United States definitions of things. As long as we label them terrorists, we can do whatever we want. In wartime, every tactic which could save your own people dying has to be considered. Okay, not okay. I guess we can do that. I guess if you want to bomb entire planets, That makes you know better than the Dominion, in my opinion. Do you feel like Discovery will become just like Andromeda? I think they're going to take beats from it. How can I not like Tilly? Yeah, I like Tilly. I'm a huge fan of Tilly. What's going on, Bradders? Machiev was minor league compared to Admiral Pressman. Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to be ending it fairly shortly. AGS, Ducat became a very likable character for about 3 seasons. Yeah, I didn't like what they did to him. By the way, AGS, I'm glad you're still here. If you still are, I'm glad you were still here. What's your opinion on my counter to you, to the portrayal of it, to actually seeing it? I would be interested because again, I know I went kind of hard on you, but it was more the idea. The stuff was rancid. I probably would have forgiven it if it was a one-off, but they love bringing it up over and over. Yeah, that was a problem I had too. Um, yeah, I mean, and that's I guess people gotta remember that too when they come on. I go pretty hard. I go pretty heavy. Generally, it's the idea. Now, when it comes to and all Trek does this. I mean, Discovery wasn't the first one. When they make light of assault victims, when they make light of like that topic, I get pretty triggered. No matter who's being done to who, and so I will specifically, but generally I try to just go for ideas. Because again, that's what this is. It's a conversation, and it's not personal. Now Cisco is a war criminal for allowing stars to be exploded to take out Dominion shipyards when only a few episodes earlier got mad at the Dominion for trying to blow up the Bajoran star. Yeah, I never really thought of that. Were any of the planets? I don't think any of the planets were probably populated, but that's still the people in the ships. Of course, that could be war. That's an interesting way of looking at it. I don't know though. The Bajorans had civilians on them, so was it populated? Sure, Armagdad. So they weren't in war, so it wasn't war crimes. Crimes against humanity or sentience or whatever you want to say it is. I think the main problem with Star Trek Discovery isn't the story or the ideas, but the dialogue. It's just appalling. Way too much info dumping, and they don't do well with characters. I just don't think they do. 1 second. Alex Bogey helping out the channel. Who do you think is in charge of the Andorian Orion Alliance? The founders? I don't know that. I don't know if there is an Andorian Orion Alliance like it's full on, or if this is just a segment, or was that planet? There's really not enough information to know. I think Andorians and Orions working together is interesting. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced. Now, let me say this. I'm not convinced that the Federation is destroyed. I think that it may be within those. It could be the Omega. Going back to the Omega molecule, it actually could just be the Omega molecule. Maybe the Omega molecule uh, hit these sectors, and Starfleet still exists. It's just they can't go into these sectors now. Maybe. I don't know. At the end of the day, I'll always love Trek. I watch it so much my 3-year-old daughter comes out of her room just to see the TNG Enterprise from the bottom screen and warp. Cool. Discovery does terrible with characters. Yeah, Cisco was meant to be Picard's opposite. He was meant to be brash and coarse compared to Picard's elegance. Yeah, I mean, DS9 was not your grandfather's Trek for sure. And so that was specifically how it was built on. That's why they break the Prime Directive all the time. That's why I sincerely think that they blew up a Galaxy class as a point. Um, but yeah. What were your thoughts on the Kelvin films when they were released, and has your opinion changed? I like the Kelvin films because I accepted them for what they were. They said that they were a reboot. They said that they weren't prime timeline, and so I really have a better time accepting them. I think that if uh, I think that if if they came out with if they came out and said, this is an alternate timeline. It's not prime timeline anymore. I think I could enjoy it a little bit more. Do I think modern Trek is a blight on Trek? I think modern Trek is a reflection of our society and culture. Whether it's a blight or not is your personal opinion. I don't like Discovery, Picard, and I think Picard and Lower Decks are fine. Picard I had issues with, but not as much as Discovery. It pales in comparison. Don't forget Bashir got Worf's. Whatever. You almost got me to say it, McDad. Um, Logan is a bad person. A bad, wonderful, lovely person. I just want to say that. All right. Exactly, they showed that the captain of the Odyssey was meant to be a person who hadn't seen the true horror of war, whereas Cisco had seen the horror firsthand from the board. Exactly. The captain of the Odyssey hadn't seen the war before. I don't know that I agree with that. I don't. I don't. I think the captain of the Odyssey did well for what it was. Um, I think the captain of the Odyssey. I love you to death, Logan. Just so you know. I think the captain of the Odyssey was. I don't think he was a war captain, but I don't think he was. He might have been Picard later years. I don't know. I'm sorry. This person I know is distracting me and trying to distract me on purpose. So, with Discovery jumping into the future from the Prime, do you think the show now takes place in the Kelvin? No, I think they consider it still the Prime timeline. Uh, I kind of wish that they did, but I think that they still consider it. Do you think that the dilithium explosions might be related to Omega? I do. I talked about that. I think that that may have been. I think the Omega molecule may have happened, and I think maybe the Federation and the rest of the Alpha Beta quadrants still exist and they're still going on. It's just this small sector. Bill Dorr, I disagree that it's Prime. That would be between you and the writers and executives of the intellectual property of Star Trek, not me, my friend. I would suggest you reaching out to them to get that taken care of. Jadzia was better. Some people are still upset about her death and leaving. I guess. I don't think they had enough time for Ezri. I think they should have just left that slot open. The worst of New Trek is Picard, so depressing, and the junkie chick just annoys the hell out of me. Okay. The Red Angel's messery has made it either Kelvin or something new. It's just not the way. Okay, Bill. I mean, if you want to headcanon that, that's on you, Bill Dorr. It's just not. This channel is dedicated to Alpha Canon. Alpha Canon dictated for Star Trek is that by the IP holders, which has always been that way until somebody decided they didn't like Discovery. We did see it sometimes in Enterprise. Some people were like, well, this can't be the real timeline or something like that. Generally, IP is, canon is determined by the IP holder. It is probably the only death of the author thing only thing that goes against death of the author for how I run and how I look at things. The whole Toxin fandom thing isn't just fandom, it's all our current socialized societal zeitgeist. Agreed, Walter Mick. Throw it down. Throw down that mic, Walter. Throw it, because that's exactly right. Exactly. Nailed it. You see, here's the thing, Bill, and here's what I'm going to say to you when it comes to that. If you headcanon that Discovery and On isn't in the prime timeline, more power to you, man. More power to you. If I didn't do this for a living, that's what I would do. But I created this channel that Alpha Canon is based on IP holders, which is what the definition of Alpha Canon is generally, and that's what I'm going to stick by. That's the way channel is. Because if I can choose what canon is, then there's not a lot. Then you're watching a channel dedicated to fanfic. You really are, and that's not the channel. Been a while. Fun question. Who do you think would win in a cook-off, Neelix or Cisco? Probably Cisco. Neelix, they make fun of his thing. I find it difficult to reconcile all the inconsistency. Well, Bill Dora, here's what I'm gonna tell you, man, and this is honest. Don't watch TNG season 1 or season 2. In TNG season 1, the Klingons are actually a part of the Federation. They are a part of Starfleet, even. You even see Klingons with the insignias behind them in an amalgamation. Picard talks about them being together. And then, like, in the same season, all of a sudden they're not. There's a lot of breaking things in season 1 and season 2. Toss is Toss Toss breaks continuity within episodes. When the first thing shields come up, so when shields are first introduced in the original series, at the beginning of in the same episode, in the beginning of the episode, they can't fire out or in of the shields. Can't. Shields work. You throw up shields, you can't use weapons. And then midway through the episode, they suddenly can fire out of their shields, but they can't beam down. And then at the end of the episode, they beam through the shields. Um, Now, I will agree that Disco Era and on take it to 11, but all of them do that. All of them do it. TOS is probably the worst of Legacy Trek when it comes to continuity. We should canonize Kurtzman, and by canonize, I mean, you're horrible, Armicdad. That's just bad. No, I'm going to have to. Armicdad, there is toss, sir. I have to remove that. Toss. That actually does break YouTube toss, so I'm going to get rid of it. I think that canon, there is some flex that can be applied. Fans can come up with interesting theories. Interestingly, piece. Trek cultures here. We can all just relax because Trek culture is here for a good time. Speaking of channels that will be able to interact with CBS when I can, I like Trek culture. I know there's been some bad mouthing of Trek culture by other channels. Trek culture is really on the up and up. You guys should subscribe to them. What was I saying? Um, Andromeda is the only one I found where the fans literally pick and choose and get to decide what canon is. And it's something that's been accepted, even by the IP holders. One of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Do you think Disco will be fixed in their new time, or will they hop around time season to season? I think they're going to stay in the same time. I've never considered that they go otherwise. Personally, I found the first episode of Discovery the least offensive so far. Okay. I'm going to be heading out in just a second, guys. You have anything else you want to say? I got a date, boys. I got a date after this. I'm going to see a really hot chick. A date, yo. Or do I? Maybe it's just going to be more work. See, this conversation was much nicer than the one I had the other day where the lore channel guy threw a massive tantrum over. I almost don't want to ask, but I'm going to. Bill Dorr, which channel were you talking about? Lore, would you support TNG animated show like Lower Decks bringing back old actors? Sure. I think they need to create new characters, but I don't mind them bringing back old characters, even in live action. They even did that in Lower Decks. A Star Trek fan going on a date? That's how you guys know it's a joke. I'm a fan of Star Trek, and they say I'm going on a date. Obviously not true. Tend to agree with you on Trek, except I find Picard worse than DSC. Okay. See, I can't go just yet, guys. I can't go just yet. I have to see what lore person was ruder than me, because if there's one thing I know, it is that I am the worst when it comes to lore, when it comes to personality. Yeah, I am kind of dressed up, aren't I? Set phasers to shock and awe. That's what I'll say as soon as she walks in. She's actually going to be taking a look at the office. So, but yeah, now I gotta wait, and I guess Bill Dorr is just not going to respond, and I'll always never know. I'll always never know. All right, I guess I'm gonna head out then. I can't remember the name. Yeah, of course you can't. A likely story. Likely story. Guys, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much for coming by, and I will see you on the next.